programming. HTML is not a programming language. HTML is just a markup language. And I explained the reason why we call it markup language. And I said, if you're using, I sent us a link for us to install Visual Studio Code, because that's what we'll be using for this session. And I mentioned it that once you have Visual Studio Code installed, you can also install an extension which is called the Live Preview, which can help you to see what you're doing. So as you're writing the code, you can also see the outcome using the Live Preview screen, right? Then I started by introducing us to HTML. I defined what a tag is for us. And I told us that we have two types of tags. We have the opening tag and the closing tag. And I told us example of tags. And I said how, if you can see my screen, I said this that you have head is a tag, but it's an opening tag. But if you can see, you see that there's another head somewhere around here, right? So you see that there is this head that I highlighted up here and the one that I highlighted below. They are not the same. And that's because this other one, before the test, it has a prefix, which is the /. So that differentiates the opening tag from the closing tag. So the one you have up here without the / is the opening tag. And the one you have down here with the / is the closing tag. And I said, when you have a complete tag, that is when you have a combination of opening tag and closing tag, you refer to it as an element, right? So refer to it as an element. And I said, apart from elements, you also have what you call the attributes. And I said attributes basically means a modifier. So you have an element, but you just want to add an attribute to it. And I said to check for attributes, all you just need to do is just to place your cursor after the last text of that particular tag, and you press space. Once you press your space, you can then begin to apply whatever attributes you want to apply. So for example, if I click on this body and I put space, I want to check for an attribute called maybe BG color. BG color, which means background color. So I can use this particular attribute to give a color to the background of the body, right? And I said the body is the region that you want the end user to see. That's the region below this address bar. So every other thing below this address bar is what would be in your body, right? Every other thing. So you can see, if I can see my screen, this is what I refer to as the address bar, where you enter the domain name, right? So every other thing that you can see below it doesn't matter if you're using browser, the same view you will have. So every other thing that you can see below is what would be in your body. So you have this in between the opening body tag. This is the opening body tag. Everything that you want the user to see will be in between this opening body tag and this closing body tag. So that's why you can see that we started last week and we added an header. And inside that header, we have our menu, right? Which basically are the links. So we have the href to add a link. You can see the difference that these other two, this service and content, has no link currently. What we've done so far is we have linked this home to a page called index, which is the landing page. About us is currently linked to nothing. So we have not linked, though we have added the href, which is the anchor tag, right? The anchor tag is basically used to specify the page you want to navigate to. So presently, let's say this is my home page. But from my home page, I want to be able to go to About Us page. I want to be able to go to Service. I want to be able to go to Contact Us, right? So I have to add that as my anchor tag, which is the href, right? Anchor, then the reference. Which page are you going to? So I will have that page. So if that page exists, for example, kindly mute yourself, please. If that page exists, I can just add to it and say, okay, go to about.html. So which means that if I then add the page about.html and I save this guy, it means that if I click on this guy, it should then take me to my About Us page, right? But the About Us page does not exist. Well, the only thing that we have here is just the home page, right? So this one, if you click on this home is the same thing as index in this case, which means that it will basically, when I click here, it will basically just reload that page for me. So sometimes what people do is that if you want a page to still retain that same page without reloading, you can just, instead of adding this index of HTML that is for the page to reload, you can just add an hash. So an hash basically will just retain that same page, right? And hash basically is saying stay on that same page. But if you want to link that page to another page, you can then add a page to this href, which is the reference now, and it will take you to that page. Yeah, so that is where we stopped last week. But there are certain things I just want to add to this. Like I said last week, HTML is like a skeleton, right? While CSS is like the flesh that covers the skeleton. So CSS majorly is used to beautify HTML. So CSS is used to beautify HTML. So that's the importance of CSS. So we can have this structure, but by the time we begin to use that CSS to style the HTML, we then begin to see the beauty of it, right? And that's exactly what we want to do now. So to continue from where we stopped last week, so we can just say, so this guy, these are links. We want to, first of all, make sure that we don't have this blue color and we don't have our links underlined, right? We don't have this link underlined, and we also want to make it probably to be maybe of color white. Then maybe when you place your mouse over it, you want it to be of a particular color. And when you take your mouse out of it, you want it to be of a particular color. So all of those things can be done, right? All of those things can be achieved. So let's move on now. Let's delve into that now. Let me clear all of these things that I have on my screen. Okay. All right. So let me go back to this. All right. So what we'll do is to say, we'll go back to our CSS. Okay. So on our CSS file, what we'll do is that, excuse me. Okay. Before we even do this over, let me cut this guy out. So we use this one to say display style inline. If we remove this display style inline, what we have next, we basically means that all of those links will be vertically arranged, right? Inline means let everything be on the same line. And padding means, okay, I want to add some space in between each of these elements. So I have, in my HTML, I have home, about us, services, and contact us. So in between each of these elements, home, about us, service, and contact us, I want to pad it. I want to put a space of 50 pixels in between each of these items. Okay. So now what we can do is to say, okay, like we said, we don't want it underlined. We don't want it underlined. So we can say, you can come here and say our here, which is the anchor. Don't forget, I told you that every element in HTML can be styled, can become a selector in CSS. Don't forget the rule. I said selector, properties, and value. So this header is our selector. Background image is our property. And this URL that you see here, this image, is the value, right? Menu is a selector. Float is a property. Right is a value. Margin top is a property. 30 pixels is a value. Color is a property. FFF, which is the hexadecimal value of white, is the value we are giving to this color. The same way menu list is also a selector. Then the property is display. The value is inline. Padding right is also a property, and the value given to that property is 50 pixel, right? The same way. So we pick this A, which is the anchor tag here. Don't forget, this other one, this href that you are seeing here is an attribute. If you remember, I told us that. So this is the element itself. This is the opening tag A, and this is the closing tag A, which means anchor, right? You want to link this home somewhere. Now, where do you want to link it to? We now place our cursor after the A and press space and look for an attribute called href. So that href now, we now put the link where we are going to, where we want to navigate to. We can say index.html. So that's the page it's taking us to, right? So this is now what we want to style, because it's that A that is showing us blue color, and it's also showing us underline. It's on as the text underlined, and we don't want that text underlined, right? So what we can do is to say, we go back to our style, and we say A has a selector, right? Then we add a property, and we give that property a value. So the property we are looking for here is called text decoration. So we'll say text decoration, all right? We'll say none. So we don't want any form of text decoration, which means that don't underline anything for us. Do not underline it. So we save it, Ctrl+S. And if you go back to this place now, you can see it has removed the underline. You can see the home and the about us, which we have linked already, no longer has that underline. All right? So that's fine. So we can move on now. Well, another thing we can do is to say, we want to give it a color. So instead of some having blue color and some other link having white color. Now, this blue color is as a result of the fact that you have clicked on this link. So when you click on the link, and that link has been clicked, right? When the link has been clicked, the color automatically changes, which means that that link has already been accessed, right? Is used to differentiate between the link which has been clicked and the link which has not been clicked. But you can then modify it to what you want. To say, okay, maybe by default, I want all of my link to have this color. Then after I've clicked over them, I want them to take this particular color. So you can do all of that. And when I place my mouse over a particular link, this is the action that I want to happen. So you can do all of that. So the first thing we can do is that we can actually say by default, let all of my link be of this particular color. So let's go on. So we can say, we can go back to our style and apply another property, right? So we say property color. Property color. Then which color do we want that guy to be, right? So we can say, let it be, let me use one of this color. Let me use this aquamarine, right? And save this guy, okay? So you can see. So it's not that aquamarine. Now, the reason why, who can tell me why do we have this A in taking this home and about us, taking that aquamarine color, and service and contact us is not taking that aquamarine color? Who can tell me?
Because we're styling the inside.
Can anyone tell me the reason why I have this home?
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, sorry, I can hardly hear you. Your line is breaking. If you don't mind, you can drop a comment if you know the reason. Why do you think this home and about us take up that color aquamarine that I specify immediately, and service and contact us still remain white? Who can tell me the reason? From what you can see on your screen, from the code that we have here, can you tell
Hello?
me? Do
Can
you
you hear
notice it?
me?
I think it's
Yeah, go ahead.
because of the use of the anchor
Because it
tag.
has been linked.
Exactly. That's the reason. So if you can see what we apply, if you check, go back to that CSS, right? The selector that we are using here is the K, which is the anchor tag. So if you check the service and contact us, you will discover that we have not added any anchor tag to them. And that's the reason why, the color and everything that we define here did not apply to service and contact us. So which means that if we also link this service and contact us, and we had the anchor tag also, it also means that they will also automatically take up whatever we have defined for them inside here. That's fine. So another thing we want to do is that we want to say, okay, if I put my mouse over a link, maybe we should just link everything so that everything will just be the same. All right. So to link, we just say A, right? We just had A, then href, right? And once we add the href, we close it. Yeah, that's the anchor tag. Then in between them, we now put the page, which is services. All right. Then the page we want it to take us to, we now put it in between the two, say, double quotes. So we say, okay, maybe go to service.html. Fine. Now immediately we did that. So this also take that shape, that color. Then the last one is contact us, the same thing. So we'll say a anchor tag. Okay, so href. All right. So we'll close it. Yes. We now say this contact us should be in between the opening anchor tag and closing anchor tag. And that's it. So we'll save it, Ctrl S. Sorry, which page is it taking us to? You can also say maybe contact us. Contact us. Okay, contact us, maybe HTML. Yeah, that's fine. Ctrl S. So we have this. We have all of them linked. Fine. So another thing you can do is that sometimes you could then, if the same way we have added this background, sometimes you can then notice that this background is too deep, or maybe I want to, or maybe the background is so light. This our background is perfectly okay, right? But there are other instances when you had the background and the background, will be so faint that even the text on top will be struggling to appear. So you can add opaque to make the color lighter, or to make the background color lighter, or to make it deeper, depending on what you want, right? So maybe let me just quickly show us that feature too, right? It's something you might want, somebody might be interested in, right? Okay, so let's just do that. So to do that, we can just add it directly to this guy that we've added already, right? So we can just come here to this background and just say linear gradients. So inside these are linear gradients, we can add what we call RGBA. So apart from, there are different types of color scheme. We call them color schemes in HTML. We have what we call the hexadecimal value, which is the FFF, FFF that I was talking about the other time, right? I will show us another way to get all of these things, right? Another color scheme that we have in HTML is called the RGBA, right? R simply means, for many of us, I know many of us will know it, what we call primary colors, right? The primary colors, out of the primary colors, there's a portion of all the primary colors that you can combine together to get the secondary colors, right? I know many of us did that in secondary school, right? So for example, now, if you had a portion of red and a portion of blue together, it can go in a particular proportion that the color that you get out of it can be purple, right? You can mix it in another, maybe if you have more of black, or maybe you have more of red, and maybe less of green or something. it can give you another form of color, right? If you have more red and you have more blue, you can actually get black color out of it too. So it depends on the proportion of the red and the proportion of the green or the proportion of the blue that you're adding together. And that's why we call it RGB scheme. But the A there means alpha, right? So RGB, red, green, blue, alpha. Red, green, blue, alpha color scheme. Now, the alpha is majorly referring to the opacity, how opaque, how like, what's the right word to use now? How opaque do you want that color to be? Now, let's try this out. So we'll say RGBA, this, right? We can say
yeah, we need to see why this thing. Oh, don't disrupt this.
Please, kindly, can you please mute yourself, please?
Green lights.
Please mute yourself. There will be time to ask questions. Kindly mute yourself, right?
I will carry this every time.
All right, so we can say,
I'm not able to solve them. So you need to fuck this up. You know your way. I'm not fuck this up. I'll not toss.
Sorry, let that person mute his microphone, please.
So I have linear gradients, and I said RGB, red, green, blue, and opaque. So I said red should be 0, green should be 0, blue should be 0, then my opacity, the alpha, 0.5. I can then say maybe comma, RGBA, 0, 0, 0, comma 0.5. Yeah. And comma. Yeah, that's it. Control S to save it. Let's go back. Can you see that it became darker, right? The background became darker. So it depends on how dark you want, how opaque you want that background to be. That will determine the value that you specify for the alpha, which is the last RGBA, red, green, blue, alpha. So I specify 0.5. If I increase it or I reduce it, you also see the difference, right? So let me reduce from, let's say 0.5. Let me reduce to maybe 0.1, 0.1, and 0.1. Can you see now? It became lighter, right? So that's how to actually, if you think, okay, the background that you have is too maybe white or something, and you want to add some opacity to it so that the text that you are laying on top of it will become clearer and bolder, then you can use the A in that RGBA to add more opacity to it so that it can become opaque, right? So that's how to add that. Now that we have done this, now we want to say, okay, if I now place my cursor on any of these guys, please let's maybe notify that my cursor is on that particular link. So for example, if I put my cursor on home, let it show me that, okay, my cursor is on home. If I put my cursor on about us, notify me that my cursor is on about us. If I put my cursor on service, notify me that my cursor is on service, right? So we can do that with what we call, so don't forget that this UL, which is on ordered list, belongs to a class called menu. Inside this menu class, I have what I call the li, which is my list. Inside my li, I have my A, which is the anchor tag. So you can see. So I have, first of all, a class called menu. So this class wrap all my list LIs. All my LIs are inside that UL. Then my A, which is the anchor tag now, is inside this LI. So which means that if I want to style this A now, this anchor, I can go ahead to say, to specify that, because there are instances that, don't forget, I told you, the reason why we use class is because it's possible that you might have more than one instance of that class on your web page. Just the same way I have my link here, I can have this UL somewhere else. If I have that UL somewhere else, this class is basically to differentiate this UL from the other UL. That's the reason why we use class, such that if you say, okay, this is a web development class, which means that if any other person does not belong to this class, we don't expect that person to understand what we're doing in this class because it doesn't belong to this class, right? That's the same way class is. So when you say, oh, all of you here, you belong to this class, any other thing outside of that class cannot inherit whatever you have defined for that class, right? So which means that if we define something for this class menu now, and we have another UL somewhere else, so far that UL does not belong to this class menu, it cannot inherit whatever property and value we have specified for that particular class. Now, so let's do this now. And to do that, we just go back to our style CSS dots, and we just say, this time around, we can say maybe dot menu, right? Dot menu, followed by our li, which is the list, right? Don't forget the UL belongs to a class called menu. The list is inside that class menu. And what we're interested in is this anchor tag, which is A. But this anchor tag is such that, okay, what do we want to achieve with this anchor tag? You've already defined anchor tag here to say, okay, you don't want the text decoration to be none, that it should not be underlined. You said the color should be this aquamarine. He has done all of that to that class, to that particular selector, which is this anchor tag. But now, you want a situation whereby when I put my mouse over it, we call it mouse over. So basically what you just do is just to say semicolon over. So you say semicolon over. Now, when you put your mouse over an anchor tag, over a link, what should happen? You can say, okay, maybe do something for me. Create a box around it. So to create a box, you say, okay, let it be of border, maybe 1 pixel, depending on how you want the border, the thickness of the border to be 1 pixel. And, you know, it should be solid. And which color do you want to give to it now? You can say maybe, I don't know, I think it's currently, okay, it's currently aquamarine, right? Okay, let's say it should be, the border color should be, no, the border color not be this. Let's choose maybe a gray color or something. Okay, that should be the border. Okay, then we have given the border color, right? But the background color now, I want to give that box a background color. And maybe we can say the background color should be, let's even say white now. So that will be hexadecimal FFFF. Okay, so we say Ctrl S to save. All right, let's go back to our page. Can you see? So once I place this on it now, so you can add some other things to it, right? To say maybe pad it or to whatever you want to, whatever you intend doing, right? So we can go back to that style and say maybe padding. Don't forget, I told us padding. If you use padding, right, is top, right, bottom, left. Top, right, bottom, left. If not, you can just specify maybe like 2 pixels all around. So when you specify one value, you are saying apply it to all of the 4 sides, top, right, bottom, left, top, right, bottom, left. If not, you can specify them 1, top, then give another value for right, give another for bottom, give another value for left, right? But if you do this, let's try it now. So you can see now it has added, it has padded with 2 pixels. You can also increase it to maybe to 5 pixels if you want it to be so obvious. Maybe 5 pixels, right? Right. So you can see. So that's applied 5 pixel border. Now, there's also something what we call border radius, right? So for example, now, you can see this border, you can see you have 4 sides, right? You have 4 sides, 4 corners. You can see the corner, the angle is what we call the right angle, right? For this box. You can also say, okay, yeah, I don't want it maybe like this. I want it to curve a little bit. I want the edge, all the 4 sides, the 4 edges, I want them to curve kind of. So you can also add what we call another property called border radius, right? So you can add border radius, and maybe depending on how curved you want it to be, right? It can also be 5 pixels. Let's try this out. Let's see what border radius 5 pixels will look like. So let's go back to the design. So can you see now? Before you have a sharp edge, but now you can see the edge is now curved. So it depends on how curved you want it to be. In fact, you can use that border radius to achieve an oval shape. That is the shape of an egg. So basically, you just need to do is just to increase the value, right? So if you increase from 5, maybe like let's say 20 pixel. Let's see what 20 pixel will give us, right? So we go back here. You can see now. So depending on what you intend to achieve, right? So you can apply border radius. So there are so many property and values that I can apply, right? But of course, even if you have 10 years of experience, I can assure you that not all of those things, not all of those property and value you would have tried out in the course of your design or development, right? Only those ones are common. You can read up some other ones. Like I said, this is an introductory class, and we're just trying to do our best to introduce you to some of these things. Okay, so that's not about that. So you can see now, once you place your cursor on any of the link, it will notify you to say, oh, the cursor is on me, so that you will have an idea, oh, okay, this is where my cursor is before you even click. All right. So that's that. You can also do what we call the mouse after, right? So you can say, oh, after I've clicked on this particular link, I also want you to notify me that, oh, this link has already been clicked. Like we have the blue color before, right? So you can, the only thing that we just change there is instead of having, so it will also look like this, right? So we can just copy this guy and replicate it, right? The only difference will just be, instead of this one being maybe over, this one will now be after. After. Then you can now define whatever you want to define here. Maybe the background color, whatever you want to define, you can then go ahead and define it to say, okay, to notify me that, oh, I've already clicked here. So, basically, that's that. Once you click on a link and you check back again, you discover that that will also take place to notify you that, oh, you have already clicked on this link. Of course, those links does not exist, so it won't be of any effect. So let's move on. Now that we are done with our links, let's try and even use a web browser to even open it up. Where is that? Okay, I'm not sure. Can you see my web browser? I doubt it. Okay, let me share my web browser so that we'll see what it looks like. Okay. Is this share again? Sir? Oh, did I stop sharing before? Okay. All right. So this is it. This is what it looks like now. So this is what we currently have, right? So what we then want to do is, this website is very simple website, right? So the next thing we want to add now is just to say, let's assume this is a website. Let's say we help people to construct their roof, right? As the picture suggests. Though, we just got the picture from pixels.com. It's not really like this is the best picture that we can, just for the purpose of training. And let's say this website is all about training, maybe can that person please mute? Very okay. All right. So let's say this website is a website just to let people know we can help you to do your roofing sheet and all of that. So we just want to add a caption somewhere and a button somewhere that people can click and our footer, right? And we're good to go with this website. All right, let's continue so we can quickly do that. Let me share my Visual Studio Code so that we can quickly do that. And once we do that, I think we can then take questions. All right, so let's move on. So now, what we can do is to say, okay, this menu, like I said, your div is like a session. It's used to demarcate a session, like a role on your screen, right? So we can basically just put all of this guy because we can consider all of this link to be in a row, right? So we can actually put them in a div class. So we can say div, right? But that's opening div, right? And this is a closing div, right? So inside the same header, what we can do is to open another div, right? This is another div. But this time around, we want to do, let's say, H1, right? I want to say your home for safe moving construction. All right. Let's just assume that's what we intend doing, right? So we say, okay, this is your home for safe roofing construction. That's what we want to add to this guy. So we've added it, right? But we then say, okay, maybe this guy belongs to a class. Maybe we'll call it maybe tagline or something, or tag. Class can be anything because it's user defined, right? You are the one defining that class. So you can give that class any name. It could be used to start defining this class, right? So what we can do is we'll go back to our CSS because it's not really what we want it to be. We want it to be somewhere around the center, right? We want it to be somewhere around the center. So we can say, let's go to our style. And because it's a class, we can say maybe dot. When you are a class can also be a selector, right? But the difference between a class as selector and HTML element as selector is that when you're adding HTML elements, you don't need to put anything. As you can see in all of the one that we've styled about. So you can see here, we just put a header, H1, body, we just put them. But for class, you see, we say dots. So that's why you see this menu is a class, you see dots there. This menu is a class, you see dots here. So this guy also, this tag is also a class. So we also say, what we also say is to say dots, because it's a class, right? Tag, that's the name, right? So that's the selector. Then the property we want to do is what we call position. You will get to know more about this position, right? But I'll just use what this one would do to explain to us. So we'll say position, and we'll say, let the position be absolute, right? So we'll say position absolute. Then we'll say, we can specify maybe a width, right? So that because we want it to centralize, so we can say the width. Now, the width can either be in pixel or in percentage. Just the same way, like every other thing can be in pixel, like you are seeing 5 pixels. It's like you are measuring, it's like you're using your ruler, right? To measure something, you have centimeter, and you're saying 2 centimeter. So, of course, you know that when you say 5 centimeter, and you say 2 centimeter, you know, this is actually longer. 5 centimeter is longer than 2 centimeter. The same way you have pixel as a unit of measurements in HTML. But the other one that you have is what we call the percentage. Percentage is like saying, okay, the entire screen breadth. Let's say I'm using like maybe a 14-inch screen, and I say, okay, my width is maybe 1,200 pixels. But if I want to refer to it in percentage, that 1,200 would be my 100%, right? Half of it will now be 50%. 50% will be, if my entire screen is 1,200, 50% will be 600, right? So that's the difference between percentage and pixel. So I can just say my width is in percentage. So I have my 100% screen, right? Good. Now, so that's what I have. So I've divided this guy and I say, okay, this is what I want, this is what I want. I want it to be this, I want it to be this, right? So I can then go back and style my H1 now. So I want to style my H1 now. I've already styled my tag. So that position is absolute. Then width is 100%. Then I can go ahead and style my H1, right? I introduce my H1 as a selector. Then the property, I can say, okay, maybe the first property I want to give to this H1 is what I call maybe color. I can say, okay, color. And which color do I want? Let me say white, for example. Okay, white color as my background, as my color. I can say, okay, what font size? Let the font size be maybe 5 pixels. If you're not satisfied with that, you can always change that. You can say,
By Monday, latest by Monday or Tuesday.
please mute yourself so that we don't get distracted, please. Okay, all right. So let's move on. So I can say I've given it font size of 5 pixels. I can say margin top. Remember, I was telling us about this last week, and I was saying margin top means that from my top, from the edge of my browser at the top to where I want that thing to be, how many pixels do I want? So I can say, okay, maybe my margin top, maybe let me try 250 first, 250 pixels, right? And I can say maybe text align, and I want to align it to the center. You can justify it, you can align to the left, you can align to the right, and you can centralize it, just like you have in your Microsoft Word, right? So you can do that and say Control S. I will come here. You can see. Why is this small? Okay. All right, let's check it out. So 5 pixel is this small. Wow, interesting. If we didn't specify any, okay, so 50 pixel. So let's see what it looks like on a browser.
Oh yeah, I'm a.
Please mute yourself. We're almost done. I will give you time to ask questions now. All right, so let me share my browser so that we'll see what it looks like on the browser. Share browser. Yep. All right, let me refresh. All right, so this is what we have. So your home for safe roofing construction. If you don't want it at this point, you can just increase the margin top to drop it a little bit down, right? So which means I can say maybe let me drop it, or maybe I think it's even fine. Maybe I don't need to drop it down a little bit more, or you can in your own case if you want to, right? You can change the color if you want to, right? If you think I can add that opacity that we had it the other time. Let me do that to make it darker so that that white color will then be very clean. So I can go back up down my linear gradient. Let me change it back to 0.5 so that that background can become darker. 0.5, 0.5. Yeah, save it. Then maybe this one instead of 250, maybe 260. Let's see what that looks like. And let me share the browser again and let's see the outcome now. All right, let's refresh. All right, so it has become darker. Your home for safe roofing construction is now clearer, right? So that's fine. So now you can just add one more thing to it to say maybe like order or something, or contact us or reach out to us, like apart from all this link that you have here, that you just want to add a button here that they can click, and when they click on that button, you can then take them to maybe a place where they will fill a form and all of that, which will still come, which we'll still do as we progress in this class. Okay, so let's quickly just add that to it, and then I'll give room for questions. So don't forget, you can ask me any question, right? But let's quickly just complete that part so that we can then ask questions. Yeah, so we can then say maybe our hey. Don't forget I told us earlier on that so we can say maybe order now or something. So we can call it maybe order.html. Majorly we are just doing examples. And we can say click here. Or we can say order. Right. So that's it. So okay, so that's it. Order. Okay. You can say Control A. All right, so the order is showing just beneath it. Then we can also say, you can see that this is what I was talking about the other time. You can see this A that we have here now, this anchor tag. Because this also is also a ref, can you see that it has automatically taken shape of this column? Which means that if we have defined this guy, this A anchor if you have given it a class, a separate class name, which means that this class would not have, this guy would have not inherited from that guy because it doesn't belong to that guy. But because we didn't give this A any class, we just basically just tie this A, this anchor. Where is that A again? You can see this A. This is the A we style. So which means anywhere you have A, automatically we just inherit from that, from the property and the value which you have specified, right? So we can then say maybe class and call it maybe button or something, right? So we can then come and define our class and say dots, maybe BBTN, which is a button. We can say maybe background color, background color of, where is that hash? Okay. And maybe color, which is the font color now. Maybe that one should be white, right? Then maybe border.
Should be
1 pixel.
the class.
Right. And
The border for the link.
that thing, and the color of the border, if you want. Color for it, say hash. That's the border color. Yeah. Then we can say let's try off, let's see like, and save, and let's come back to this place. Okay, so I think it's quite small, right? So we can increase it.
The border is
It's 100. Okay.
let's try to go to
Height. Can specify the height. Let's say 50 pixel height. And, test line. Set. Okay. And
so it's die.
So let's see what this looks like. Excuse me. Let me quickly take water.
See.
Okay. All right. So let me show something. Now, one thing that is very, very key in all of this is this. Now, from this your screen now, from what you have on your screen, you can actually bring up what we call the debugging tool, right? By right-clicking on your browser. So this is your browser, for example. So you can right-click on this browser. Once you right-click on this, you can click on what we call inspect. So if you click on this inspect, for example, let me bring it. So this guy is similar to what you have in your Visual Studio, where you have your live preview and you have the code. Now, this inspect works the same way. Let me bring this guy to below. Where is that guy? Okay. I think she should be it. Yeah. So, yeah. So I have it below. Now, if you notice, see all of these things that I have here, right? This is the same thing that I have in that my HTML, in that HTML file. Do you notice that? Can you see? Everything I have here. Now, not only that I have the HTML code here, I also have the CSS code on the right-hand side where I have style. Can you see style? Where my cursor is. So I have the HTML here. I have the CSS on the right. So you can imagine that basically by inspecting, you can actually correct whatever you want on your page. And it gives you an idea of how a web page is developed or is designed. For example, now, if I click here, if I click this arrow, this selects, and I come to any portion of the page, for example, now, if I click here, can you see on the left-hand side here, it brought me down to this place where I have my text. And it's showing me that, oh, what you have there is H1 and your home is safe for us. And it's saying that H1 that you can see on the left-hand side, the style for it is on the right-hand side. Can you see? H1. And it's saying the color is white. The font size is 50. Top margin is 260. Margin top is 260. And text align is center. So for someone, you can then say, okay, let me even see this color. Let me click on this color right from here and change the color. Can you see? With this now, I've been able to change the color. I've been able to change this color from here, which is fine. I can then say, okay, this is 50 pixel. How will 70 pixel look like? So I removed what is there and I had 70 pixel. Oh, 70 pixel is wider. Do I like it? Do I not like it? So with this now, this will even give you an idea of you can play around with it with this. Whatever result you now have here and you like it, you can then go and duplicate it in your code. Now you can say, oh, margin top 260. So what will happen if I say margin top 60? So I have margin top 20 now. Oh, so okay, so he brought it back up. Okay, so margin is basically the space, the difference between where I start here and where the text wants to be. Okay, so which means that if I increase the margin, the text also keep going down. Okay, so let me go back to that 260. So okay, 260 brought it back to the middle. Okay, so I know what margin top is all about now. Okay, my text align is center. Okay, I know what that means. Okay, centralize it. Okay, that's fine by me. Now I go back to this next one, which is this order. Okay, so this guy belongs to this class and all of this guy that we define for it. Okay, so this is the border this is the border color that we define for it. Okay, as I'm clicking on it, you can see the border is actually changing. The border color is changing. So the border color has changed to red. Now it's changing back to purple and all of that. Fine. Okay, so let me move it to that red. So that's that. Okay, the text itself. Okay. How thick I want my border to be and all of that. Then this is my background. Okay. Maybe it's too dark. I want it a little bit. Maybe I want it darker or whiter or. Okay. So you can keep playing around it like this from here. Okay. So this width is not applied. That's probably because it's inheriting from somewhere. So it's conflicting. So it's not showing. Okay. So we uncheck it from here. Same thing, margin. Okay. It's also not giving us the effect that we want. Okay. Test align. Okay. Test align is working fine. Okay. Can I then pad the tests? Okay. So I can, from here, just from here, right? I can then say, okay, if I close this guy, I can say padding. Let me see what padding of maybe 50 pixel will even look like. Oh, 50 pixel is too much. Don't forget, I told you, padding is basically like, once you say padding, you are talking about top, right, bottom, left. So if you don't want to apply to all of the four sides, so you can say, okay, instead of 50 to all sides, so top, top right, bottom left. So maybe top should be maybe like 5 pixel or maybe like 10. Top, 10, or maybe 10, 20, 30. Okay. 10, yeah. 10, 20. Okay, so that's top, right, bottom, left. So you can see that the left, if you look at it truly, you notice that the difference, the space, the padding on the right is bigger than the padding on the left because one is 30, the other one is 20, right? So, but I can just make it uniform to just say 30, 30. So 10 top, 10 bottom, 30 right, 30 left. So that's better. So that's 30, 30, 30. Then that one is 20. Okay, good. So I can then say so float right. Okay, so I might not float it right. You can then say margin. Margin. Let's see. Margin of 50 pixel. So you say 50, 10 pixel, 100 pixel, 20. So top right. Okay. Top right. Top is 50. Right is 10. Okay. Let's make this one also 50. Then this one yeah, if the entire screen is 600 kind of, yep, or 650 kind of. Okay, so all of this, so you can see, you can play around things from here. And once you're satisfied with the result that you are getting from here, you can then translate that code. You can just transfer this code to your project, which means that the only thing we've added now is this padding and margin. So which means that we can just copy this guy. Maybe that's padding. So we can go back to our code. And this is where we'll stop. Let me just share back our code. All right. Okay, so let's go back here. Let's say we have this padding. Now the value and margin. What's the value for margin again? Let's just copy margin. $50, $10, $50, $65. Right, so that's it. Save it. So yeah, because here we actually not more on the browser, because that is actually, yeah. Okay, so let's preview the browser and let's see what the browser will say. So go back to your browser and go back here and share it. And we have this. Yeah, so we have it. Oh, I think the only thing we didn't change is the color. So we can also change the color. So that's how to play about this guy, to play around it. And whatever you click on from here, you can just please click here. It will give you the code. And you can also open it down here from here to open whatever you have here. Open your hairline and you will see all of the code. Then you can then edit whatever you want to edit. Okay, so this is where we're going to stop tonight. So you can ask your question now. If your network is not that clear, if your network coverage is poor, you can drop the question in the comment section. We'll read through it. You can also unmute yourself to ask the question. All right, let's start. Who is going first?
I'm the one, sir.
All right, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry, although I joined the class late, I want to ask. Today is my first time joining the class. First of all, I want to ask for like a page, either the group, that's everything will be posted after the class. I don't know whether we have something like that.
Yeah, I think there is a group like that. You can drop. I think the group has been created. I've been added to the group too. So you can just drop maybe your details in the comment section. I think someone will add you to the group.
Okay. Oh.
All right. Any other question? Please, can I have the full screenshot of the code? Yes, I can actually drop the code in the chat now if you want. Let me quickly do that. Okay, let me just quickly copy that. Okay, so I'm dropping the HTML. So which means just save this thing. You will have, so that's the HTML. Let me drop the CSS now. If you just copy what I have and you just save it directly, and you are able to link them properly, and you save them with the same name, you have the same result I have. The only thing is that you don't have the image, right? So you can use, instead of the image that I used that I don't have, you can add your own image and make sure you add the directory if it's inside a folder, and you get the same result that I have. Okay, so I'll drop the HTML. Admin, please take note. Some people are dropping their phone number in the chats for them to be added to the WhatsApp platform. Please take note and add them. Your message is too long. Please try sending multiple short messages. Oh, it's complaining that the... Okay, maybe let me send it in 2 batches. Okay, so the first one. Oh, can I attach a test? Let's see. Okay. I was thinking I can attach a file or something.
Sorry, Mr. Sheyi.
Yes,
Those
sir.
people that have not joined, click the WhatsApp group at the shared group. So you can, it's there. So just click it and join the group. A lot of people are already joining. So you don't need to send your number to us. Just click. Thank you. Please continue. Thank you.
Sorry, saying this. Maybe I will drop this one on the WhatsApp. It's saying that it's too long. So I can't drop this one in the... I'll drop it on the WhatsApp platform. All right, can go ahead and ask your question. I'll drop this. Okay, yeah, I just drop it on the platform. That's the CSS. Is how do I open a CSS? It's the same. Just click on new file. To do that, let me quickly show you here from here. So just click on, once you have created your folder initially, right? Let's say you save the folder on the desktop. In my own case, I name it as web, right? So for you to do that, so you can just click here. If you can see my screen, just click on this new file. Once you click on new file, that's a new file already. So you give it a name. In my own case, I gave it style.css. In your own case, you might want to give it another name. Maybe you might give it maybe header.css, right? But
So we can't see the screen, please.
oh, serious? All right, let me share. Which one? I'm actually sharing my screen. I don't know which one you're seeing. Okay.
Like the explanation you are making now, like this, you are not seeing any cursor movements.
Oh, okay. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm saying that, so you can imagine, I already have just imagine that let me close all of this other one. So this is the web folder, which I created on my desktop. Inside that web folder, I have index.html. I just created this one. Let me delete it back, header.css. So move to trash. Okay, so I have a folder img, which is the folder that contains my image. This is my index.html. This is my CSS file, right? So if you want to create another file, whether another HTML or another CSS file, all you just need is just to come to this cursor, this new file. Just click this new file and you give that file a name. So for example, now, we have other pages like maybe about.html, and you press enter once you type it down. So you have created it. That's how to create about HTML page, the same way you create CSS page. So if you want to create CSS page, just click a new file and give it a name. Maybe I call this one style. I can say the next one will be maybe home.css. Enter. And that's my CSS file. So once I open this up, then you can begin to write your CSS like body. Then you can begin to style your body and do all of that, and you save it.
Sorry, sir. Would the extension work only when the code is done, or we can also open the extension down? Because I can't link mine to my code yet.
No, you can create them separately, right? Once you're done creating, maybe you created your CSS, you created your HTML, then you can then go to your HTML file and link it. This is how you link it, right? Just this line of code is what will link it. So link, then an attribute called relationship style sheet. The href is the file you are linking to. So this is your HTML, right? Index.html. But you are linking this index.html to your style.css. So if your own CSS file name is not style.css, let's say it's sheyi.css, what you have in this href would be sheyi.css. So if you also, let's also assume that you create a folder and your style.css is now inside a folder called CSS. So which means that when you want to do your reference here, also you also have to do CSS/style.css, because this style.css is inside a folder called CSS. But if that's not the case, let's say your HTML and CSS are in the same folder, then you just need to specify the name of the CSS folder, style.css. And with that, you will be able to link it. But don't forget, this link will come before the closing head tag. Before the closing head tag of your HTML. If not, it will not work. So it has to be in between the opening head tag and closing head tag. All right. Any other question?
Hello, sir.
Hello. Good evening. Good evening.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Please, I installed this Visual Studio Code since last week. I've been trying to use this thing to work. I don't know how you add the web to the Visual Studio.
Okay, so I said there's an extension called Live Preview, right? So it's an extension. So if you come to what's it called now? I think it's under view, right? Yeah, under view. So if you place your cursor on that view now, you will see extension, right? So if you come to this extension, so this menu will pop up. So just search for Live Preview. It's from Microsoft, right? Live Previews. Just search for Live Preview. Yeah, you will see. It's the first one that I see.
Okay, how do I add the folder to the Visual Studio?
Just click on install. Once you install it, automatically it will be added to your Visual Studio Code. Once you install it, then you will see it here. This is like, it will show preview. You can see. This is the button here. If you can see my screen, this is the button here. So once you click on it, it will then show you the design on the right-hand side, and you have the code on the left-hand side. Any other question?
Hello, sir. Hello.
Go ahead. I can hear you.
Good evening, sir.
Hello, I can hear you. Good evening.
Good evening. Yes, sir. Sir, is there any other alternative for Android users to code?
Oh, you are using your phone?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I think there is limits to what you can actually achieve with your phone, right? I think my advice would be, even if you can't get a laptop, try and get a desktop computer. I think it will go a long way rather than using your phone. There are a lot of things you can do.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any other question?
Yes. Can you confirm you can hear me?
I can hear you.
So I am very, very new to this. So I just downloaded the visual code. I don't know if I can share my screen. If you can put me through on how to like start it, at least for my sake and for others that just download it.
We will not be able to do that. You should always come early. Thank you.
Okay, all right. I hope we can have the recorded video so we can go back to it. I actually came early. I'm just having difficulties in opening the what is the name? It's asking me to open a new file or something. So I don't know how to go about it. That's why I'm asking if I can share my.
Yeah, it's very simple. You know, you don't essentially have to share your screen, right? Let me just quickly run you through that again, right? So basically, this is what you have when you launch your, let me close this guy. Let me just save all. Let me relaunch, right? So this is what you have. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so this is what you most likely have, right? So don't worry about this project, right? You might not see anything in recent if you have not done
Can't
anything.
see your screen. You just see you talking.
We cannot see your screen, Mo.
Come on. Okay, let me try and reshare. Okay. How about now? Can you see it now?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, good. So this is what you have. So in your own case, you might not see this recently, right? Because you have not most likely done anything, right? So what you can then do is this. So you can see new file, open. If you have linked maybe this to your Git repository, we'll talk about all of those tasks, version control later on. But so what I advise you to do is this. So you can go to your desktop, create a folder on your desktop, or maybe in your document, anywhere you want, right? Now, once you create that folder on your desktop or any other location on your system, you can then come here and click on open. So when you click on open here, you can then select that. So for example, if I click open now it's asking me, where do I want to open? So I can say, okay, go to my desktop, right? On my desktop, I have a folder called web, right? So this is the folder I want to open. So I'll just say open. Now it will open it for me, right? On the left-hand side, as you can see above. So it has opened this guy for me. Now, in your own case, the folder will be empty because you don't have all of this home, about us, and all of these things I have, right? So to do that, so what you will just see is that you will see this guy, which is to add new file. The next one, to add new folder. The next one, to refresh. But in your own case, you already created a folder called web or whatever name you have given to it on your desktop or your document or wherever it is. All you just need to do is to click this one to add file. So once you click this one, it will ask you to give the file a name. So just type the name of the file you want to give to it, whether .html for HTML file or .css for CSS file. Then once you create that, you can then begin to write your code in it. I hope you understand that. All right, next question. Any other question before we call it a day? I'll give us an assignment against next class. So I would like you to, based on what we've done so far, right? I want you to make something out of what we have done, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be the same thing that we have done in this class, but you can, try to be creative about it. Do something else, something different, right? And next class, I'll just ask some of us that would do it to quickly share our screen so that we can preview and review together first before we then go to what we have for us for next class. So please, what we have done so far, just practice and be creative about, do something out of what you've learned so far. And that's the assignment for you. Develop a website out of, it could be a personal page, it could be anything, just do something out of what we've learned so far, to even show that you understand what we've taught so far. I hope you got that. All right. Any other question?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Please, can we have the video of the very first class and this one?
Maybe that will be to the admin. The admin, since there is a WhatsApp page now, maybe the admin might then consider dropping the details on the WhatsApp page.
Just make sure you join the WhatsApp group. We'll communicate with you for that.
Please, the link, sir. Sorry, sir. Please, the link is not there again, no.
The link is there. This on the chat, please. The link is there.
Okay, sir.
It's there again. I put it again. So just close it. I'm just using, okay, thank you. Somebody has sent it to, okay. Just join the WhatsApp group. Give you more of that details. Thank you. And don't send just anything that is not related to coding. Please don't do that. So we don't take
sorry,
you
sir.
out of the group.
Hello? Sorry, sir.
Yes.
So will this course also cover backend too?
Yes.
Let's just continue.
Hello,
Let's see how
sir.
far we can go.
I'm just finding it difficult to link to the WhatsApp group. It's just loading, but it's not connecting.
It's connected for others, so I don't know what is happening. Are you with me? Do you have any challenge? Probably. You can reach us maybe next week on the official number, codeafricang.com. Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Sheyi, over to you. Thank you.
All right. So if there's no other question, I think that's what we'll do the cutting tonight. See you again next week. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
We encourage you to practice what you have learned.
All right.
Make something good out of it. So thank you. Enjoy your weekend. So you can tell your friend that is interested in UI/UX to join tomorrow class by 6 p.m.
Thank
Nigerian
you, sir.
time. Thank you very much.
So I have a request, sir.
Huh?
I have a request.
Okay, what is your request?
I don't know if the codes that are being used in the class, we can always have a Word document of it or PDF of it so that we can always try it.
Mr. Sheyi will give you that. You can ask that Mr. Sheyi on WhatsApp. Please don't send us anything. Okay, everyone, good night. Please, you can get out if you want to unmute yourself. Okay, thank you. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, sir. You too. Bye-bye, sir.
So thank